The views and opinions expressed in this broadcast do not necessarily reflect or represent the views and opinions of WBGR Network. Any questions or concerns about what is said should be directed to the show host, whose information will be provided upon request.
Let's talk about the positive life, the positive life, positive life. Let's talk about the positive life, positive life, positive life. Let's talk about the positive life, the positive life, positive life.
Hey everybody, how y'all doing? And welcome to another show of Let's Talk Positive. Say hi. Wait, Juma.
Hello.
Hi. Let me say my greetings to the Nigerians of Cairo, to the Spanish hola, to the French bonjour, como allez-vous, to the Indian people from the north and the south, namaste and wanna come, to my Filipino friends and family, hi, kamusta family, to the Koreans, annyeonghaseyo, to the Japanese, konnichiwa, to the Chinese, ni hao, to the Cantonese, ni hu, to the Guyana people from Africa, minmawaju, to the Hawaiians, aloha, Pakistan, assalamu alaikum, Vietnamese people, xin chao, Ethiopians, Mediterranean, salom and shalom, and then the Arabic people, marhaba, the Russians, kavazabu, and all the English people all over the world. Hey, how y'all doing? What's up? Welcome to another show of Let's Talk Positive Life, and we have a wonderful show. We have a wonderful guest who will be calling us shortly. Yes, I love it. Last week, though, you know, we always have to do a recap. Everyone who knows or have seen my show always know we have to do this recap. Last week, we had, she's a Cali girl, Maisha Hilton. She was wonderful. You're talking about, like, very astute in hair care. Right. I mean, it's like, I wish she was here. We have some great ones here, but she's one also that was like, man, she would, oh my God, the DC area, DMV area, she probably would wake up because she knows so much. I love it when you're knowledgeable. It's nice that if you go get your hair done, and of course it costs money, it's expensive to get your hair done, but someone who's very, very knowledgeable, and like a lot should be, knowledgeable as far as even your hair, your shaft, the follicles, and even your scalp. I saw one of her interviews where she even saw someone, she assessed them, like how we do as nurses. We do SOAP notes, so we do the subject, what they say, and then the observation, we do that, an assessment, what our conclusion, and then the plan, what we're going to do. And it's funny because they do that as well. But she saw someone's scalp, and it didn't look right. There was something about it. And sure enough, the lady went to the doctor because she said, go see your doctor. Because we always tell people go see your doctor. Right. All of us do. And she ended up, they said she had lupus. And it had manifested itself on her scalp. Right. I thought that was like, wow, you know. So she came back and told her, you know, thank you so much because of just seeing and paying attention, doing the consultation, not just grabbing the hair, but actually looking and seeing what you're dealing with. Look at the scalp. That's how we do. Look at everything and see what's going on. And you'd be surprised how you can get a problem. You can nip that problem in the bud before it gets totally out of control. So kudos to her. Also, you know, she's very student as far as the Bible. And she has her Bible studies on Thursdays, which is very, very good. I love it. I love it. Love it. So Maisha, do your thing, girl. Yes. Love her. We got to talk about this because we're nurses. You know, the COVID, of course, yes, it's still around. It's gotten better as far as it's not as high in regards to like the stats. So it's coming down, which is great. However, it's still here.
Definitely.
So regardless if you had the shot or if you didn't have the shot, you know, you still have to, what we say, wash your hands. 20 seconds, soap and water, right? What they were saying, the CDC, I love the CDC because they try to keep you up to date. You know, again, when it first came out, COVID-19 first came out, remember, people didn't know a lot, you know, and we're still constantly learning because of the variants and different things, the mutation and different things that can occur. But what they were saying was that they mentioned about people who have been vaccinated now, what they're saying, and they're telling the truth. They're at least they're being truthful, because we don't want people to be under an impression that, oh yeah, we're cured, we're healed. No,
that's very
very important.
Tell the truth.
Tell the truth.
Right.
Exactly. So kudos to CDC. They mentioned about the virus breakthrough cases are expected. So what they're saying is, even though those who got the vaccine, still the breakthrough, meaning that even though you got the vaccine, you could still come down with COVID. They said that they're expecting it to occur. Okay, thank you. My guest is online. And they were saying also that what they're saying, the disclaimer, of course, is no vaccines are 100% effective at preventing illnesses in vaccinated people. Just keep that in mind, that it's not 100%, but we're hoping that it's more toward maybe 90, 99% or more close to 100%.
Right.
But they tell you that they're not guaranteeing you too much of anything, right? And they said there's a small percentage of fully vaccinated people who will get sick, okay, and will be hospitalized, and or death can occur because of COVID-19, okay? So in other words, we still have to be careful, you know what I mean, as far as that go. They also said that there is some evidence that the vaccination may, listen to the words of may, make your illness less severe. It may, unless otherwise, like they're still doing studies, so hopefully it won't, you know, they said may, so that's a possibility, right? That you may get sick, and you still could get sick, okay? What they're saying is, however, the variants they said will on that one, will cause some of the vaccine breakthrough cases. In other words, because, almost like the influenza, how every year they had to change the strands of it. So you would be immunized against for like maybe 3 to 4 strands. That's all they can do, because it's tons and tons, it's thousands and thousands of influenza. So say like if they did the Hong Kong and different things, and you end up getting like a California one, they didn't immunize you against the California one, right? And the influenza is what I'm talking about. So some people say, well, I got the flu shot, but I still got the flu. You didn't get maybe that strand or those 3 to 4 strands that you were immunized for, right, against, but you got something else, another, like we can call it a variant, a mutation or something like that. Maybe they didn't immunize you against like the California that year, so you get flu symptoms, and you're like, they test you and say, oh, you got the California one. It can happen. It just can't. Nothing is a guarantee. Again, we go by the scriptures, my people, right? We always go by that. Right. We said, what is that, 2 Chronicles 7:14? We still have to pray, seek his face, and repent on that, and then he'll heal the land. In the meantime, also, we have to be mindful of our diet. Make sure that we're taking in enough vitamin D, vitamin A, vitamin C. Those will help to boost the immune system to a certain extent, right? And also, we still have to, of course, hand wash, social distancing.
Right.
People are still wearing their masks, which is great, right? Still have to be careful, because again, it's still here. We can't get too laxy-daisy. Again, a lot of times, I think I gave you that sheet of paper that mentioned about the hand washing. I showed that last time. It said it's the number one way to prevent the spread of infections, and that's with anything, right? Because we know that if you wash your hands with soap and water like you're supposed to, counting A, B, C, D, or whatever you want to do, for 20 seconds, that fat part of that COVID will die, right? You get rid of that. Also, when you dry your hands off with the dry towel, you're getting off even more germs, more stuff, more bacteria, more fungus, more viruses off your hands, because you're taking it off that way. And of course, it has to be an ongoing thing, because you can put your hand on something else and that place may be contaminated, and you say, oh, I just washed my hand, but you just touched something that might have been contaminated, or maybe you touched someone's hand, something, and then you did one of these numbers, then you have it. So it's just that easy that you can get it. But like I said, hopefully, if it can be eradicated, that would be what we really want, as far as that go. This month is June month, so we talked about, we were going to, talk about the men. I'm going to talk a lot about the men, but I'm going to talk a little bit. You got to talk about them just a little bit. We talked about I think I mentioned about the BPH because we have people in the family that have the it's called the benign prostate hypertrophy, meaning that the prostate gland is enlarged. And a lot of times, what we talked about, I think last time we hit it kind of and quit it, which I'm gonna do today as well. A lot of times, the men have to have that PSA level. PSA meaning prostate specific antigen test, which they'll draw your blood, and all they need is like a red top tube. They used to have a tiger top, but the red top tube is just enough. With that, they can also do your cholesterol if you want to. You can ask for that with that same blood, but they'll, you kind of introvert it a few times, invert it, and then you let it sit, and then you spin it so that it'll separate, and it'll tell you, what the serum levels, what the levels are as far as the prostate, and they're, they want it definitely under 4. The lower kind of the better, you know what I mean? But again, if it's a little higher than that, sometimes what you're thinking about can be prostate cancer, but it also can be that your prostate is too enlarged. They would have to do further studies, and what I mean by that is maybe they need to do more the x-rays that they do, different types of x-rays, and also a biopsy, just to see what's actually going on, because it does not necessarily have to be cancer. It may not be that. It may be that your prostate is just enlarging. You may need one of those TURP kind of, they do a lot of procedures for that if that's the problem. But like I said, men, let's say this, at any age, if you see a problem, like as far as like if it's urination or burning or, those who are sexually active that can't get, that type of thing, say something. See your doctor. If it's something that's out of the ordinary, that is usually not like that, I don't care what age you are, because sometimes they say, okay, at the age of 40, at the age of 50, but people are now having problems at an early age. And I think we did talk about testicular problems, testicular cancer. They actually start, we said, at the age of 15 up to 49. And a lot of times the family history can be such that they may have that run in the family, may or may not. The lab, they'll do some imaging tests. Sometimes if some men, one of the tests is not, it doesn't descend, it's an undescended one. It might be up there and it didn't descend like it was supposed to. But other than that, a lot of times what they're saying is it may be those problems, but it may be they may not know why that happened. It's just something that can occur. But they'll do some tests, and they said that definitely, seek medical attention, because you can't just ignore that. You don't want it to go into something else. There are certain stages, and if they catch it early, then it could be of the cure, meaning you could be like cancer free. But if they catch it too late because no one said anything, then it. That can be bad news. So I just wanted to say that about that. And of course, we talked about, and I'll talk about it again, the lycopene. That's very, very important for the men to take. I'm not saying that you won't get problems with your prostate, but it's helpful as far as the healthiness of the prostate by eating foods that are high in lycopene. We mentioned about watermelon, because some people say they really can't eat like a lot of tomato paste, tomato sauce, spaghetti sauce, that type of thing, pizzas, different things with a lot of that. Sometimes they say they have an upset stomach with it. Well, there are other fruits and different things that do have lycopene in it. They're also a supplement, but it's better to get it, in my opinion, naturally through your foods and everything. That's what I wanted to say about it, yes. And my guest is online, but I got to get my mom to say a little something, some type of a wisdom nugget before, a commercial break. Go for it, Mom. Yeah.
I've listened to the various conversation, and I notice people are complaining a lot. They talk about all the negative things instead of talking about the positive things. There's a lot of positive stuff are happening these days, but we are ignoring the positive things, and we just talk about the negative things. And so this is not good. We want to, in other words, the negative things are getting all the attention, and the positive things, which is pertaining to the Lord and His blessing, we're ignoring that. Don't do that. Remember, the Lord bless us. In spite of everything, there is some blessing. God is doing His thing. So let's give him the glory.
That's awesome. She always gives wonderful tips, and you just lay it just by saying a couple of words. Boom, say the benediction. I love it. Thank you so much. I'm so glad you're here. And my mom always, she does a great job as far as just making the table look so beautiful. I really appreciate that. It's always color coordinated just for me. Thank you, Mama, my daughter. Yeah, thank you. I'm just so spoiled now because, I mean, what would I do? Who's going to do it, you know, if you weren't here? I mean, you know, I love you and also because you're such a team player, and I love it because I can go get my face done and be more into a more relaxing mode before I before I actually talk, you know, on camera. Because, you know, people think this is easy. It's not. It's not. You know, it's some preparation that goes in after that. And then sometimes if things don't go well, you be like, you know, it's kind of type A also. But my mom, since she's been here, I'm telling you, it's been like smooth sailing, and I really appreciate it. And the color coordination, I mean, because, you know, my mom used to be a seamstress, so she knows all about colors and different things like that. Some people even say, who did this, who did that? And if they like, you had somebody do it? Nope, my mom did it. She can do your house, all that stuff. I'm talking about she's just so gifted as far as different things, just the color coordination and how to put things together where you would think that somebody else, no, my mom did it. And it's well done. Seamstress, she was a professional seamstress, so she really knows her colors, and she knows. So I really appreciate you, Mom. And also your words, wisdom. Let's go on our commercial break because our guest is on. That time this goes. We didn't start at 7, but it is what it is. Sometimes you got to get things together. Break time, yeah.
Let's talk about the positive.
Let's Talk Positive Life with Rainier airs live every
Hello?
Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The show is seen worldwide and has a variety of topics, including discussions from medical, community affairs, live entertainment, and everyday conversations with guests, including the entertainment capital, Hollywood, California. Let's Talk Positive Life reaches a global audience with over 300,000 views every Wednesday on Roku, Fire Stick, Facebook, and WBGR Network. Let us advertise your business. For more sponsor, donation, and advertising information, or to join the conversation as a guest, contact Rainier Montgomery at www.letstalkwithrainier.com and click on Contact Us. So spread the word. Sponsor opportunities are now available. Let's Talk Positive Life with Rainier.
Video by the directors.
Kid on the beat. Hey, yo, Cam. I don't think they ready for this one.
You got me like 1, 2, 3, just can't have me. Everything going wrong, like go rate me, that's all money. Just switch up the zone, like can't hit me, I'm wasting my time. My consistency, you got me like 1, 2, 3, just can't have me. Everything going wrong, like go rate me, that's all money. Just switch up the zone, like can't hit me, I'm wasting my time. My consistency, I've been spoke for quite a while. But here I am, right here and now, crying, Lord, please speak to me, and let your spirit be in me. I know I'm not always worthy, but you always come through for me. If you get me out the situation, there won't be no more issues from me. Hold up, can't promise that right now, because of my imperfection. The world is so inconsistent, and I think that it's rubbing off on me. But you got me like 1, 2, 3, just can't have me. Everything going wrong, like go rate me, that's all money. Just switch up the zone, like can't hit me, I'm wasting my time. My consistency, I've been spoke for quite a while, but here I am, right here and now, crying, Lord, please speak to me, and let your spirit be in me. I know I'm not always worthy, but you always come through for me. If you get me out the situation, there won't be no more issues from me. Can't promise that right now, because of my imperfection. The world is so inconsistent, and I think that it's rubbing off on me. But you got me like 1, 2, 3, just can't have me. Everything going wrong, everything gone wrong. Like do re mi does the harmony. Just switch up the song. Like I can't hear me. I'm wasting my time. My consistency.
My guest, author Lisa M. Sanchez. Don't miss this. And we are back, and I know you enjoyed all that because, you know, I showed the choir boy and all that. Let me do a quick bio, short bio. Lisa M. Sanchez is an LA native, born and raised there. She is a life coach, a motivational speaker, empowering women. She is founder and chief executive of the Just Dig In It LLC, and she is vice president of human resources at Arts Center College of Design in Pasadena, California. She is the author of her amazing book, and you have to get it, people, entitled, check this out, Looking for Love in a Garbage Can.
Oh, Lord.
What? Okay. Ladies and gents, here is the author herself, Lisa M. Sanchez. Hey. Hi, Lisa.
Yay! I'm here.
You're here. Yay. Hey, Lisa, let me just start off by saying this. The title, oh my God, so catchy. Looking for Love in a Garbage Can? How catchy is
foul, right? That sounds real foul.
It does, but it's so catchy. You gotta tell me, why did you even pick that title? Which does it grabs you? It's like, what? I gotta see what that's all about, because usually people don't say garbage can.
Yeah, that title really represented what I was feeling in my life. Yeah. Growing up in a home with a violent, alcoholic father. He was abusive and just really terrorized us. And I found myself with such low self-esteem, low self-worth, looking for love in all of the wrong places, flipping over lids, flipping over the dumpsters, and just finding myself looking for partners who were just like my father, alcoholics and abusers. And so that's how I came up with that name.
Yeah, that's incredible. I mean, the name is so catchy that it's like, I got to see what this is all about. It just does. It's just very catchy. I mean, I'm sorry that happened, and because you were the youngest of the four siblings.
I'm the youngest of four siblings, yes. But as people read my story and my journey, they will find out that
there were more.
Papa was a Rolling Stone.
Okay.
3 kids, while married to my mother.
It happens. It does happen. I think I come from a very huge family. I don't say huge. I say enormous family. And we have all kind of, you name it. We have that in our family as well. Different things like that. But tell me about when you decided, because I know you probably journal like a lot of us tend to do. When did you decide to even write this book?
Yeah, so one of the things I used to do as a kid to really capture my experiences and my emotions and feelings is I love to write. I used to write poetry. I used to hide behind the written word. It was my safe place. And eventually, all of that journaling and writing really turned into my book.
Yeah. Okay. Just put it all together. And then when did you write? Because the book came out when?
So the book actually published in March 2021. I finished that book 10 years ago, and it was a drop the mic moment. I finished it. It felt like therapy, but I didn't have the courage to publish it. My parents were still alive. I was revealing family secrets. I was revealing very personal things about me, and I wasn't ready until this pandemic happened, and I had time for pause. I had time for reflection, and decided to just step out on faith and encourage.
Okay. And, I'm just so glad that you told your story, because a lot of times, that's going to help a lot of people. I don't know how the people felt, when they read the book, and it's the shock of it to say, wait a minute, she's talking about me, but sometimes, like I said, just for therapy for yourself, sometimes you do just have to let it out. And it's even though it may be hurtful for some people to write them, maybe, you disguise and say there's somebody else's name, but they might have said, oh, wait a minute, she's talking about me in that. But the therapy of that is to help you out, mentally, to help you out. And also to help others. Yeah. Talk a little bit about that.
It was therapeutic. Yeah, it was very therapeutic. It definitely helped me along my journey. It was definitely part of the healing. But the feedback that I'm getting from people who are reading the book, they're describing it as riveting, emotional, uncomfortable at times, yet funny. So I'm trying to infuse a little bit of humor even in my darkest experiences in life. And the messages that I'm getting from strangers, they're just amazing. They're beautiful. People were saying, that happened to me. That's just like my life. And that was so rewarding. I mean, I have cried reading people's messages to me.
I can imagine that. And like you said, you put a little bit of humor in it, because, even though the darkness is there, but the humor is some laughter is good for the soul. And it's also good even mentally. As far as that go, just a little bit of humor in it. April, of course, was Alcohol Awareness Month, and I actually talked a little bit about that. We talked about a little bit of statistics and different things, and how they say that, of course, alcoholism is a disease. It is an illness, and it doesn't affect not only that person, but it affects everyone around them, including, like you said in your book, your whole household. Just to come in and, your father is like totally drunk and out of control, and to grow up that way. And it still sticks with you, because when you learn it as a child, it just does. It just it follows you. And a lot of times it can affect you to say, well, this is the type of men that you tend to be drawn to. Your stories were like, really, oh my God, it was like, wow, this is incredible. Just to live that way and to like say, mimic your mom. Your mom, she did what she needed to do to keep the household together, to stay with your father at that time, and to she knew how to like ignore it, even though he was throwing things and everything. Wow, that was incredible. And I'm sure you kind of mimic your mom as far as dealing with people, but choosing people that were like your dad. Talk a little bit about that.
Yes, my mother, I like to refer to my mother as a super shero. I mean, she really was someone that I admired, because as much as my father performed and belittled her and physically abused her and was not faithful to her, she held down the household. My mother was one of, I think, 9 children. She was the only one to graduate from UCLA.
Okay, awesome.
She raised us kids. We were always dressed to kill. We always had home-cooked meals. Yeah. My mother was amazing, and it broke my heart, honestly, to see her experience that, and especially to watch your mother cry. That was so heartbreaking. But my mother was just, I always say there are probably 2 people on this earth that when I talk about them, I just cry. And that's my mother and my son, right?
Okay.
And probably my sister, the one I grew up with in the household.
Okay.
But, yeah, my mother was just amazing.
Mm-hmm. And you know what, then something came out of that, because then she taught you then how to be calm in the midst of all the storms. You know what I mean?
It's true. Yeah, it is true. But at the same time, there were things that I learned from my mother that have not or did not serve me well. Being submissive, having people step all over you, not having courage, not having the voice to speak up. Those are things that I picked up, and I ended up dragging those things into my own relationship. So while she was sweet and she held down the home, I didn't learn courage and being able to stick up for myself.
And we're going to talk, we're going to talk a little bit about that also. But with these, I mean, you had the various stories of these various men, and what I've noticed also, because abuse, it should really be every month, violence and all that. A lot of times, some guys, and of course, you know, it's not like you have one there, hey, I want to be abused. A lot of times the abuse can start out, a lot of times, little things, verbal, and then it gets worse and worse and worse, and then it turns into physical abuse as well. But, you know, again, verbal abuse can be just as deadly or damaging as physical abuse as well as that. When your sister first even read your book, I don't know, did you tell her that, hey, I did this book and I want you to read it and tell me what you think? What did she think about that? Because again, she grew up also along with you, your siblings, the four of you grew up in the midst of all that. What did she think about that? And also, now you said you were affected by that, yes, but were your brothers, two brothers, and your sister, were they also affected by that as far as their relationships down the line after, you know, getting to an age where they're dating? Did that affect them as well?
So here's what's interesting. We each just sort of navigated through this crazy life of ours, right? And neither one of us ever really talked about it to each other. And I never even consulted with any of my siblings until I was ready to push the button on publish. So I told my sister the book was coming out. Of course, my family knew that I wrote this book 10 years ago, but at the time that I decided to push the go button on publish, I hadn't talked to my two oldest brothers, and I had only asked my sister permission to use her name, her real name. So that was it.
That was it.
Yeah. So there was no consultation. I didn't tell them the gory details of what I was talking about because, you know why? It was my journey.
Yeah.
It was me telling my story. And I didn't want to insert their experiences. Now, what's interesting is my big brother, he and I had a conversation a few weeks ago. And that was the first time ever that my big brother told me how he was impacted by living in that home. He said he turned to drugs. He said he's experienced horrible skin rashes like I did. And my brother is probably in his early 60s. That's the first time as adults he and I ever talked about it.
Wow. That's therapy even for him then, as far as that goes. Because, you know, like I said, people sometimes we wonder, you know, why we are how or who we are as far as that. Maybe it's something that you dealt with back then, and you didn't totally deal with it, but it followed you. Like, you know how things, generational, it just follows you. With that being said, and I love that this is your journey to healing. Let's talk a little bit more about your dad. Even though I know he loved his beer and he drank to the point where, or maybe other things, and drank to the point that, you know, something he was dealing with himself as far as that. Because a lot of times people tend to drink alcohol because they think there's a problem that's there that he's not dealing with himself. And I don't know if later on in life you were able to talk with him a little bit about that to see, was there something that he was not dealing with, and that's why he turned to drinking, he turned to being violent, something, maybe some demonic thing, something that he was dealing with. Did you ever talk with him about anything like that?
Yes. After I went through the process of really working through the relationship with my father, he would reveal, my dad was very reserved. He would reveal bits and pieces. But here's what I gathered. My father was very broken. He carried a lot of demons. So my dad was born in Ecuador. He came to the United States when he was 21 years old. He left behind his family in Ecuador. And they really gave him a lot of heat for that. They felt like he left to live the American dream while they all lived in what they would say is poverty. But I would beg to differ because they are living their best lives in Ecuador, you know. They have nice homes and careers and all that. But I think in large part my dad blamed my mother. He somehow figured out that it was my mother's fault that things happened the way they did. And it really just had nothing to do with my mother, but my father, who came to the United States not speaking a word of English, a brown-skinned man with an accent. He had a lot of chips on his shoulders, and I just don't think that he had the ability to sort of work through his issues. You know, macho Latino man, would never even consider going to see a therapist or anything like that. And so I think he turned to alcohol, and he just wreaked havoc on his family.
Yeah, that's probably what happened here. You're right. Were there then times then that he did not drink and you had a great relationship then with your dad growing up? Can you remember that?
I can't say that my relationship with my dad was ever great. I think over time I learned to just honestly tolerate him because he really was just so hurtful to us. And so the only way I was able to ever have a decent relationship with my dad, I mean, meaning sitting down on the sofa and having conversations with him, was when I decided to forgive him.
That's it, right.
Because I held him hostage for so long for everything that he had done to us, that in turn I was holding myself hostage. And the way you free that up is to forgive.
I love that you said that, because that's a huge, huge word. A lot of times, you know, a lot of us are guilty of that. Like something could hurt us so bad and you just don't even see, how do you forgive that? But you do. You have to find a way. And I love that you found a way to let that go, because that right there is going to hold you hostage where you can't go any further where you should.
It's true.
Yeah,
it's very true. I have this saying where I say, you know, forgiveness is freedom.
Come on here.
Never let ill feelings about people or your circumstances take up residency in your heart.
That's awesome.
When you store it there, you are manifesting so much energy in your vibration, in your soul, and you have to let that go.
That's awesome. I love that. That right there. I mean, that's brownie points right there. And also, you mentioned about a goal is break free of from your past. That's very, very important to let that go. That's like huge right there.
Tell her she is growing, because as she gets older, she is growing. She grew as she got older. She learned how to deal with it. Let's talk also about your mom, though. You know, I know you sat down, you talked to your dad, bits and pieces of different things. Did you ever talk with your mom about what was going on? Like to say, Mom, how come you even tolerated this? Did you ever talk about that as far as that? Because a lot of times we as girls, we do look up to a mom to be our role model, say, I'm going to be like her. Whether it's the good or the bad, as far as that go. But did you ever talk about with her in regards to why did she stay and take that and, learn her way of coping with that in the midst of you guys being there in the presence of all that happening?
Yeah, I did talk to my mother when I finally was old enough to really understand what was happening. So in the book, I talked about the 6-year-old child in me that couldn't really reconcile what was going on in my family, but I knew something was wrong. But when I got old enough, I would say my teens, and then, of course, my early 20s, sitting at the table with my mother after a drunken episode, or after Dad chased us out of the house with a gun, or we had to sleep at my aunt's house, or I had to sleep in my car, I would say, Mom, why? Why do you stay?
Yeah.
And my mother was old school. She got married in the 50s. you stay with your man. And you don't, and this is her house, right? You know,
Right.
leaving her house, and she stayed for us kids. And I've always said, and I talk about this in the book, I would have stood next to my mother in the court of law while trying to work through the divorce. You know?
Yeah.
That's what I would have wanted. And I just didn't think that it served us to stay in that marriage. And they stayed together until my mom passed away, you know?
Yeah, that's
that she was of that generation. Stay with your man, stay in your home. This is my house. I'm staying for the kids.
Yeah, yeah. And I can understand that because old school, you didn't really hear a lot of divorces and separations too much. When they said those vows for better for worse, they really meant that. You know what I mean?
They really meant that.
did.
Exactly.
Nowadays, they don't mean it. It's like, you know, nowadays a lot of people don't mean it. It's like for better or worse. Just take the worse out because you really don't mean that. Just say for better. Leave it like that, for better and for better. Right? Because it's just different now.
Exactly.
I tell you.
Nowadays, people, they say, you know, I'm going to divorce you, just like they say, we're going to break up. Like being married and divorced just doesn't seem to have the same, I don't know, meaning as back in the day. I don't know. But I don't encourage anyone to stay in an abusive relationship, honestly. And I had to learn that for myself.
Yeah, yeah. Talk about, I guess when you first actually was in the light, let's say something went off like a light bulb to say, listen, I need help. Because this right here, I'm picking these people. You mentioned about a Mark, an Ernest, a Grant, and others who you've had these relationships with, and of course some of them last a little longer than others, but they all seem like some type of abuse. And I think you mentioned about there was somebody when you were 40 years old, the person was not physically abusive, but they were mentally abusive, which can be just as, when they say sticks and stones will break my bones, words will never. Yes, it does. That's a line from the pit of hell. It does. You know what I mean? Them words. The Bible even talks about that. That unruly tongue, it can kill somebody's spirit. Their soul, kind of, you know, like that. But talk about when that light bulb went off in your head to say, wait a minute, you know, what is it that I'm doing wrong? Well, I keep getting these same people, and I need to seek some help, professional help at that point. Talk about that.
Absolutely. So I went through life just saying, yeah, you know what, I've got a jacked up household, but I'm just going to try to live my best life, right?
Yeah.
What happened is, when you are what's called an adult child of an alcoholic, you are ill prepared to enter this world and really deal effectively in interpersonal and love relationships. I didn't know I was wounded. No one said, Lisa, you're messed up, you're insecure, you're this and that. No, that's not how it works. So I showed up in relationship after relationship after relationship, just ill-prepared. And as I describe it in the book, I carried around this dumpster that was invisible to me, and that was filled with insecurity and sadness and pain and depression, etc. And it was this one relationship in my mid-40s where, again, not thinking anything was wrong with me, the partner I was with, he dumped me like a bad habit, and I really thought my life was over. Just over. And I ended up going to see a therapist again in my life, because I had seen therapists throughout my life just to sort of cope. And that therapist told me, not one therapist, but another therapist as well, told me that even that relationship that I was in was an abusive relationship. It was a controlling relationship. It was, again, the verbal comments that were being made to me that were continuing to affect my self-esteem. And so I recognized then that I needed to heal from the inside out. You know, the package on the outside was cute with clothes and nice shoes and this and that, but the inside was broken and wounded and needed repair. And that's when I really went on my journey of healing and self-discovery.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And, you know, moving forward, of course, it's wonderful that you told your story and it's going to help. It's a journey of healing. How to survive an alcoholic environment, because there are so many people, especially here in the USA, and I'm sure there are other places, but they have gone through something kind of similar, but they just didn't tell this story. Some people are just quiet mouth, and it's like, I wonder, am I the only one who went through that?
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And it's so nice that you're there to empower other women. And maybe even men too, because men go through abuse too.
Right.
It's
absolutely true. Absolutely true.
Yeah. Are you, with this, during this pandemic, of course, and hopefully it's coming to an end, or things are starting to pick up and maybe be some type of normal as far as us getting out and doing things. Do you have it? Are you going to be doing any public speaking in the future, near future, in regards to this, as far as empowering us women, empowering the men as well, in regards to this subject here and dealing with the abuse, physical control, mentally, all that other, everything? Do you have anything lined up for that?
Absolutely. I intend to get out in the public as soon as things are safe to do so. Right now, my platforms have all been in the virtual space, doing interviews like these. Mm-hmm. I spend a lot of time on Clubhouse just sharing my story, because I do want people, in particular women, to be self-empowered. I talked about this acronym, ACOA. Adult child of an alcoholic. What I have turned that into, instead of labeling myself as that, I've turned it into a course of action, because that's how you take your power back. Mm-hmm. That's how you get to steer your narrative and your own story, and not be stuck in blame and shame and in the past. What happens with people like me growing up in this environment is that we live our lives in secret. We live our lives in shame. So when we walk out in the world, we look bold and proud. But when we go home, there is hell to pay, because of the dysfunction, because of the abuse, because of the alcoholism, all of it. And we don't tell anyone. And I want to give people voice. I want people to win, not in the way of keeping score and one-upping people, but win in life, to live their best and most fulfilled life.
I love it. If you're ever in town, the DMV area, I'm coming to come see you. Yes, I am. Yes. Awesome. I love it. Are you planning on writing then, because this could be a continuation. This is your journal. This is what your story, your autobiography, what you went through. Are you planning on, you should, maybe doing another book as far as more empowerment, basing it off of this book, like a continuation to help more people? Did you ever think about that? Or
yes. Yeah. You want to know what I'm thinking about now is a children's book.
Yeah.
Telling my story through the voice of a 6-year-old. So one of my original book titles was called Is Daddy Mad? It's actually the first chapter of my book, Is Daddy Mad? Because that's what I thought Daddy was. I didn't know as a 6-year-old child that I was dealing with a father who was suffering from the disease of alcoholism. Yes. So I'm swirling around in my head right now a children's book where the proceeds for that will go to a charity that I choose, some sort of maybe women's group or children's group, where resources are needed for either shelters or something like that. So that's what I'm thinking about right now, is a children's book, telling the story through the eyes of a 6-year-old child and what that child might be experiencing.
I think that is an awesome, oh my God, that's like, I'm going to get that myself. I'll get that book. And people, because people, the thing about it is, I think that's going to help the little ones. It's going to help them, because you'd be surprised what they're going through, and they see that and they be, what's going on? It's like you're saying, is Daddy mad at me? Did I do something wrong? Am I a bad person?
Exactly.
Oh my God, that's going to help so many children. Oh my God, I have to bring you back when you do that. You hear me? I have to
I
bring
would
you
love
back.
to come back and talk to you about that.
Yes,
Absolutely.
even if you're in town, you got to come. Yes, I just love that because that's just, it's going to help a lot of people. I mean, there is a huge mental health problem going on, period. And these things will help from the little to the older. It just is, and these things are very helpful. It's going to help because, you know, a lot of times people just don't understand when they're that age. They're soaking in everything, and they sometimes can blame themselves. You see some people can commit suicide, dealing with peer pressure, all that, and saying, look, the peers don't like me. I go home, they don't like me. Why don't I just take my life?
Exactly.
You know?
That's why the movement continues. The tour continues. My story continues because it's so necessary. It's so necessary. Alcoholism isn't going away.
It's not.
Mental health isn't going away. And we need to help people dig in. You know, the name of my business is called Just Dig Into It.
Yes.
Not lean in. Lean in, I don't know what that means.
No.
People like to say lean in. Is that your shoulder? Is that just your toe? Like, what is...
Right. What is that?
You've got to just dig into it. Get dirty. Do the work to really pull through adversity.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I'm in your corner. I love it. I love it. I love it. And also, you know, that time just goes because we didn't even talk about, you know, you talk about that self-publishing. Why you decided to do it that way versus going the other route of the publishing. You did the self-publishing thing. Did you hear me?
No,
Lisa?
I did not.
Oh, I wondered. I was because at time just goes. I only have like a few minutes, but we didn't get a chance to talk even about the self-publishing that you decided to go that route.
Yes.
Versus another route.
Yeah, so self-publishing, at the time that I finished this book 10 years ago, I didn't know a thing about self-publishing. And then 2021, that's all I hear about is self-publishing. It's not easy by any means. You still have to do a lot of work to make sure you are putting out a really good, well-quality book. Mm-hmm. So I decided to go that way because when you self-publish, you control. You can tell your story the way you want to tell your story. And I hired some really great people, you know, book illustrator, editors, not one editor, but two editors, to make sure that the story made sense, that people understood what I was trying to say, that they understood my journey.
That's awesome.
And that's why I chose self-publishing.
That's awesome. And also, a lot of times they can catch things that you didn't catch because a second eye, a third eye, whatever, sometimes is better than this one eye. And you can see that there's things like, you know what I mean? Because sometimes I say, oh, I made a mistake here. Oh, I did an arrow, and somebody else catch it, and you know, it just helps, which is awesome. We got to, you know, that time just goes, but. We got to talk about, you know, as far as how can we purchase your book and how can we get in touch with you via social media? How can we support you, Lisa?
Absolutely. I so love that question as much as I love telling my story. So the book is available on Amazon.
Yeah.
You can do a search in the search engine. You can either do Lisa M. Sanchez as a search. You can do Looking for Love in a Garbage Can as a search. The book will come up. You can also find me on the socials, Instagram and Facebook, at Just Dig Into It.
Okay.
Just Dig Into It. All one word with the number 2. Just Dig Into It.
Awesome.
If people want to email me, do you want me to give that?
Yes, please. Yes.
Okay, Lisa at justdigintoit.com. Lisa at justdigintoit.com. Use the number 2 instead of TO.
Okay. Perfect. And this is going to go everywhere. La-di-da, everywhere. They're going to replay it again on Amazon, Fire Stick, Roku through WBGR Entertainment. And also it's going to go on All Nations TV network on their Roku stations, Roku TV worldwide. And that's going to be re-aired on that particular platform will be on Sunday at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Monday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Tuesday at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and Wednesday at 5:30 a.m. in the morning Eastern Standard Time. And it's seen and heard worldwide. So wherever you are, people in the world, you can still see it. You can still see it 24 hours. Okay, this is going to be on there worldwide, which is awesome. Give some shout outs, Lisa, before we close for this evening. Before I go home, yeah. Some shout outs.
Oh, I'm sorry, say that again?
Give some shout outs to who you want to give some shout outs to.
Oh, shout out to my son Brian, the love of my life. To my love partner, Dr. E. He's in the book under a different name. And
That's a good one.
Shout out to my girl Lori Gentles and some other folks that are just real special to me. So shout out to family and friends.
Awesome, awesome. Listen, Lisa, it was so great talking to you. I think that a lot of people will heal because of your book. We definitely don't want to, tell everyone what everything is in the book as far as giving everything what's in the book, because people, you need to see it, you need to read it for yourself. And it's very, very detailed, and it's really, really good as far as the information, and just to let you know that you're not alone. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like, you're not alone.
Absolutely.
Other people have gone through that, maybe worse, maybe less, but still you're not alone, and that there is help out there, and that you can heal from this, and that it's a constant healing process, obviously, and the key is also forgiveness. That's just awesome. That's just powerful. I love it.
It's forgiveness. The key is forgiveness.
I love it.
It's
I love it.
healing. It's going to save some lives, I hope. And I hope that people enjoy the story.
Yeah, okay. Have a good one, Lisa. I'm definitely going to keep in touch, because, again, I'm going to tell Pam, when you do this children's book, oh, my God, I can't wait, because that's going to reach the masses.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Have a nice evening.
Thank you. You as well. Bye-bye.
Bye. How wonderful. That time just goes. That time just really, really goes. She's absolutely wonderful. Right. She's powerful. She's really powerful. That time goes.
Actually, she is able to minister to others who's
going through this.
Because she have a lot of companies. A lot of people have gone through that.
A lot.
But we all have gone through some stuff. But it's depending upon how you handle it.
How you handle it.
Right.
Yeah.
And of course, she had give maybe the early part she didn't, but now she can minister to others to let them know how you go about this, and if you see this or that, she can be a big inspiration.
Huge inspiration. She is a huge inspiration. And now, with her being even in a relationship now, she know this is better for you. This is what a healthy relationship is supposed to be, not something like that, garbage cans. Stuff like that.
And it's nice to talk to people who have experienced that. Because how can a person tell you what it's like if they have not experienced?
Come on here, exactly. And people will listen to you more because you've gone through that, and they want to know, what did you do? How did you survive it? Tell us this, that. Get the book, people. I'm telling you, it's a good read. It's her life story. It'll make you cry, it'll make you think, it'll make you laugh, all that in it. But like I said, the bottom line is, the main thing is, we want people to heal, to be on that right track of healing. Going through, yes, but you heal, you let that go, forgive, and you move on to better, and you know what is a healthy, normal relationship versus a dysfunctional one. So I appreciate her telling that. That time goes next week. Next week we have the exercise guru herself, Donna Richardson, and her mom, Mama Laverne. Oh my God! Yep. Thank you, Jesus. Yes, and they have food with it's the waffles, chicken and waffles. Everyone loves everybody loves waffles, chickens. Everybody does that, right? At least sometimes, right? But they have their products. It's doing well. I mean, they are. Sometimes they run out and everything. But we're going to talk with them, and I need some chicken. Can I get some chickens and waffles tonight? No, I'm just okay. It's kind of late now. But anyway, listen. Tune in next week. Please repost and share this show everywhere. We want people to really hear it. very informative, and of course, please get the book for the details, okay? Because it's just an incredible book. You're like, wow, it just is. It's an incredible book of her life. And just know that you're not by yourself, okay? Repost, share my show, and of course, next week, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I'll be back on with my guest. Yay! Let me say my goodbyes real quick to everybody. To the Nigerians, Odabo. To the Spanish, adios. To the French, au revoir. To the Indian people of Alosta, the Koreans, Anihikaseo. Pakistan, Allah Hafiz. The Vietnamese people and the Ethiopians and those who speak that language, ciao. The Italians, Arrivederci, the Russians, Das Vidanian, and all the English people. Bye, see y'all later. Repost, share my show. Have a good one. Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Let's talk about the positive life. The positive life.